Warning: the following video contains explicit language, which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Are you ready? Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Everybody's here. So, hope you've all been enjoying enjoyed the debate last night. Certainly was memorable, I can tell you that right now. And it's just insane, because today in the newspapers they were listing how many lies that Trump told in 90 minutes, and it was like close to 60 lies. Somehow I thought it would be more than that, but I guess what it is I was confusing some of these make-believe people that he was naming off to add some I don't know some justification for the things that he was saying by making up names of people that don't exist while he was talking about foreign policy and stuff like that. You know, he trying to make his lies sound more credible, I guess. I guess that's what he thought he was doing. I mean, that's what liars do, okay? It's, it's like if they're, I didn't throw the rock, it was Joe. Joe threw the rock and hit the car, and and so it's like, well, who's Joe? There is no Joe. Or who's this? He doesn't give any last names. It was like just first names, and like Abdul. Who the fuck is he talking about? Abdul. Abdul who? So he was doing that. He was like, trying to make his lies sound like they're more credible by adding more lies on top of it. It's like what somebody said. To tell the truth takes about 2 seconds, but to tell a lie, it'll destroy you when it unfolds, because you have to compound lie on top of lie on top of lie in order to cover your ass. But when you tell the truth, it only takes about 2 seconds. And Trump could not explain a damn thing on that stage last night because he was spending too much time lying about the lies. Okay, and he's like this quagmire of an like this room. You remember in Star Wars, what the hell? Which one was it? Not Return of the Jedi, but The Last Jedi or something like that. I guess it was where Rey was inside this I don't know if it was a room or if it was something to do with the Force, but she saw like endless reflections of herself going down one way and going back the other way, and she was doing this, and it was all doing the same thing. That was kind of like what Trump was doing last night with his lies. He was lying on top of lie on top of lie on top of lie, and endless fucking lies. Okay, trying to explain, oh, this person told me this and that, and he can't even fucking, nobody knows who the hell he's talking about. So there was that part of the debate last night that really kind of puzzled people, because there were some folks trying to figure out who the hell he was referring to, and who the hell does name Abdul, or who the hell was named this or that. All these names that we just kind of throwing around like, oh, we're supposed to obviously know them like we know Donald Trump, right? Well, he's throwing these names around like we're supposed to know who they are, and nobody knows who they are because they don't exist. People telling him things like, well, I was told by John and all this, I was doing good. And I was like, well, who the fuck is this? Christ, I mean, it's not enough that you lie, but now you got to create and conjure up fictitious people. Jesus. I mean, that's kind of the shit that he does at his rallies. But to go on TV and do the same thing, you know, it's a different audience. Not everybody's going to clap and applaud, okay, over what he's saying. And then the shit about the cats and dogs being eaten up in Ohio. You know, somebody pointed out that he might have watched some show or some movie called V. I don't know how many of you people remember that, but it was a science fiction show miniseries in the 80s. And the aliens that visited Earth were eating up our cats and dogs. I'm thinking he must have been watching that movie, okay? And somehow in his damaged mind, he took that and figured that's what was really going on somewhere, okay? And so he brings that into the mainstream, and it's like everybody was like, what in the fuck is he talking about? Okay, I mean, that was a rumor that got started on Facebook, and obviously, you know, he either saw that or somebody told him about that. I don't know how the hell he got that. To think that to bring it up was a sign of desperation for him to bring up that fucking Facebook post that somebody, I don't know who the hell it was, but that's where it started, apparently, from what I understand. And I'm thinking it was probably started by some jackass MAGA nut that probably did that just because they're racist, you know. But he brings that to the debate floor, and now it's mainstream. Well, you can't unring that bell now. He's being laughed all over the place about bringing that up. So, you know, he cut his own throat on a stage last night saying that shit. And, you know, some of the... and he got mad at the moderators, too, by the way. Let me see here, this... yeah, this article here from CNN. Entitled, it says, Trump suggests he won't debate Harris again, attacks ABC over moderators fact-checking, by Brian Stelter and Kit Mayer. The day after Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Trump's first presidential debate, it is far from clear if Trump will agree to a rematch. I'm guessing he won't. Multiple TV networks are eager to host a presidential debate in October. The Harris campaign, exuding confidence after Harris baited Trump on a Philadelphia stage Tuesday night, immediately said she would agree to a second debate with Trump. But Trump is not committing. Quote, "Are we going to do a rematch? I just don't know," unquote, he told reporters Wednesday afternoon. Quote, "We'll think about it," unquote. His comment suggests he is not altogether serious about a sequel in a morning phone call to a co-host of Fox and Friends. He said, quote, "When you win the debate, I don't know that I want to do another debate," unquote. So he thinks he won the debate. Well, that's nice. Just like he thinks he won the election there against Biden and lost. Then he insulted Bret Baier and Martha MacCallum, the two anchors at Fox News has pitched as potential debate moderators in October. Quote, I wouldn't want to have Bret and Martha," unquote, he said before proposing Sean Hannity, Jesse Waters, or Laura Ingraham instead. It is self-evident that Fox's primetime stars, who exist more in the realm of entertainment than news, are never going to moderate a general election debate. So if that's the starting point for negotiations, don't expect another debate. But Trump campaign senior advisor Jason Miller said on CNN this morning that Trump has already said that he is going to do 3 debates. Miller blamed Harris for dodging Trump's talk of a September 25th debate hosted by NBC. The Harris campaign, however, wants the vice presidential debate between Tim Walz and J.D. Vance to happen next. CBS is hosting that face-off on October the 1st. For those of you out there, October 1st. Jesus. That's why Harris spokesman Brian Fallon said last night, quote, "That was fun. Let's do it again in October," unquote. NBC and other networks stand ready to host a follow-up debate. Trump told reporters Wednesday afternoon that he would theoretically show up for a debate hosted by either NBC or Fox, but first, quote, "We have to determine whether or not we even want to do it," unquote. Trump claimed that overnight polls showed he had defeated Harris soundly in the debate. This is a man who lies all the time, so why would you even take what he just said here as truth? as if to suggest that a second face-off wasn't necessary, but he was referring to highly partisan and unscientific surveys on social media. CNN's flash poll after the debate found that registered voters who watched it broadly agreed that Harris outperformed Trump. Regarding a potential Trump-Harris rematch, Trump's VP nominee, J.D. Vance, said it's ultimately up to the top of the ticket. Quote, obviously he likes these debates and it's good at them, and he's good at them, so I wouldn't be surprised if he wants to keep it up and get back in the ring, but I also wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't. It's his choice, unquote, Vance told Fox. Trump on Wednesday also assailed ABC after the debate moderators fact-checked the former president in real time during the primetime telecast. Quote, CNN was much more honorable, unquote, during its June debate, Trump told Fox, calling Disney-owned ABC, quote, the most dishonest news organization, and that's saying a lot, unquote. Trump repeatedly claimed the debate, quote, was 3-on-1, unquote, and suggested Disney's FCC broadcast license should be revoked due to the moderator's conduct. Quote, they are a news organization, they have to be licensed to do it, they ought to take away their license for the way they did that, unquote, he said. Oh, poor baby. They actually outed him on how many lies while he was lying? And he's mad that they did that? You see, he wanted people to just hear the lies and you know, he didn't want these people to fact check. Why? They're the news, for Christ's sake. That's what they do. He said that these pets were being eaten up there, and the moderator said no. Nobody up there has been saying anything of the kind, okay? He took an incident that was going on in Ohio and twisted it into this racist thing about Haitians, okay? And none of that, what he said was happening up there, happened. You know? And these moderators weren't going to let him get away with that, okay? And they didn't do it in a dishonorable way. They just corrected him and said, you know, especially on the abortion issue where he said, you know, babies are being aborted at 9 months. No state in this fucking country is doing that. Not one. Because that's murder. Okay? That would be murder. So, you know, again, he's been selling that over and over again. And there's people out there who believe it, but they can't even tell you where it's happening. Because there's nothing in the news about it other than Trump lying about it. There's nothing, nobody's doing that. There's no doctors out there aborting babies after they've been born, you know, or killing them. That's infanticide, okay? Nobody's doing that. It doesn't exist. It's a problem that he created in his own head, and it doesn't exist. But the pro-life nuts, of course, they're going to say it does, because it bolsters their movement. Okay? It makes their movement seem more credible when you got somebody, an ex-president, out there making up this shit, saying, oh yeah, they're killing babies after they're born. Okay? Yeah. Well, you know what? They were right to point out to Trump that's not happening. Okay? He didn't like that. I mean, if they hadn't have done it, I'm sure Kamala would have done it, because I think she did say it too herself. That isn't happening. And he didn't like that either. You see? That liars don't like to be called out on their lies. That's why his face got all puffy and red, you know, and he was like this and the thing, you know, he had all he could do to keep from just walking off that stage last night, okay? I really thought that that's what he was going to do, okay? The very idea that he walked out on the stage and tried not to shake Kamala's hand, you know, maybe because he's a germaphobe or something, I don't know. But he tried not, he just headed right for the podium. He didn't want to talk, he didn't want to reach out and shake her hand. She went up to him and made him shake her hand, okay? Because that's what you do in a debate. You know, he didn't want to do it. And I imagine he was pretty pissed that there wasn't some hand sanitizer on the fucking podium so he could, you know. But the thing of it is that, you know, he came out on that stage bullheaded, didn't want to be there, you know, which is why I think he's not going to want to do another debate, because he got his ass handed to him last night and he knows it. And he doesn't want to go back. He's going to let Vance and Walz do the next debate, and he's not going to want to do another one, okay? He's going to spend the rest of the time that he's got to try and create some kind of a healthcare plan that he said he had concepts of over the course of 10 years. That he said he's been doing. It's like, I've been doing my homework, you know, and he's got homework backed up for a mile, okay? I got it, I'm doing it, you know? Yeah, 10 years later, he's still doing it, right? Sure. He ain't doing that. He's too busy covering his butt in court. He hasn't given one thought about health care. Which is why John McCain, told Trump, voted down on the idea of getting rid of the Affordable Health Care Act. John McCain was like, no, we're not going to get rid of it because the Republicans don't have anything to replace it with. You can't get rid of a system like that and just drop everybody. That was the reason why he turned it down. It's like, well, he probably would have if the Republicans had something to replace Obamacare with, but they didn't. And that's why he turned it down. And ever since then, they haven't really been working on a health care plan for people. Okay, and that's going back many years. All the way back into the Obama years, okay? That's been going back a long time. So all this time, and he answers the question, well, they ask him, what is your plan for a health care plan for Americans? And he says, well, I got concepts. That was the best answer he could give. I got concepts. Really. Doesn't sound like he's been doing anything about that, and I'm sure he hasn't. But that was all he could offer, which explains why when you go to his rallies, you don't hear any policy to be talked about. Okay, he's showering people with all these stories and rumors and fear mongering, like World War III is around the corner, which he did that last night too. I think he mentioned World War III about 4 times in the debate, trying to scare the shit out of people. If I'm not president, it's going to be World War III, right? Like, after all this time, after all the presidents we had before him, okay, it's only going to be now that we're going to have, forget it, okay? He's just so desperate to get back into that White House because he's got crimes he's got to answer for, and he don't want to answer for them. And as president, he can whitewash that away easily enough, with his chosen staff and judges and all that shit. He can walk away from it. Especially all those goddamn documents he stole that belongs to the National Archives. All right? All that stuff, So that's the reason he's running. It isn't for your health care. It's not for your, the bills that you're paying or the amount of money you're spending for food and gas and all that. He ain't running for that. Okay? And he sure as hell ain't running to stop the war in Gaza or to help the Ukrainians. Okay? He's only got one objective in his mind when he becomes president. Pardon himself. That's basically it. That's all he wants to do. The rest of the time while he's there, you want a national health care ban? Sure, fine. I don't give a fuck. He's 78 years old. He ain't going to be making any babies anytime soon anyway, so what the hell does he care? It ain't going to matter to him. He's just going to be the lapdog for the people under him that are really more dangerous to us than Trump is. I had a conversation with somebody online who's saying that, MAGA is not, as big a threat as people like to conflate them out to be. And I'm thinking, well, they did do January the 6th, my friend, and it didn't take them long to get that organized. So let me tell you something. Don't pretend that these people are just a bunch of, chaotic nutcases, okay? They use the internet. They got mobilized really quick, and they're capable of doing it again. 100 people associated with Donald Trump put together that Project 2025. And like Wall says, you don't put a game plan together if you ain't going to use it. You know what I'm saying? So if there's anything to be afraid of, it's that. It ain't so much Trump, it's the fucking people following him that are the ones we got to keep an eye on. Because after Trump's defeated, okay, they're the ones that's going to be his retaliatory arm, if you will, to anything that he whims or wills these people to do. And that's the ones we got to watch for. That's why I'm hoping that the FBI has got these fucking people under observation, because if not, we're going to have some problems later on. So anyway, let's go to commercial break. We'll be right back.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Ruth McLaughlin, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you. Original.
What will you tell your kids? That you voted for a felon and a criminal, supported a man found guilty by a citizen jury, went into the voting booth happy to pull the lever for the only former president in history to bear the mark of criminal shame. Will you tell them that breaking the law is how they should live their lives? That lying to their families about porn stars and hush money is how they should behave? Do you want your son to treat women like a man who was found to have committed sexual assault? Do you want your daughter to be a victim of a man like him?
You going up the escalator? I'm going to be dating her in 10 years. Can you believe it?
Hey, when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the...
Will you tell them that he was honest, that he was a good man,
Very fine people on both sides.
that he treated people the way you've taught them?
Like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
Will you tell them you're proud of his cruelty, happy with the ugly insults,
I mean, I'd look her right in that fat, ugly face of hers.
the attacks on women, and the endless lies, that the chaos, death, and danger he brought was worth it? We know it's hard to walk away and put country over party, but your kids are watching. You're not just voting for your future, you're voting for theirs.
Welcome to the Trump 2024 convention, brought to you by Project 2025. This week in the horrible city of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, you'll see the best of the Trump Project 2025 party. It's a bold vision for a bright future. With Trump Project 2025, you'll love how new tariffs will make everything more expensive and set off runaway inflation. We know you'll appreciate paying for the big tax cut our struggling billionaires need. When you seniors are done freeloading, check out Project 2025's plan to end Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. So get out of that nursing home bed and get back to work. And ladies, this convention has so much in store for you. With Project 2025, you'll learn how good you'll have it in the kitchen. Girls, if your marriage isn't working out, you'll need Project 2025's helpful tips to keep the romance alive, even if he's abusive, because we're getting rid of divorce. And if Mr. Wrong gets you pregnant, welcome to motherhood, because we've ended Roe v. Wade and we're going to criminalize birth control. And minorities, well, you didn't need those silly voting rights anyway. For you Jews, Muslims, Mormons, and other fake religions, you'll get a head start on learning America is a Christian nation. Project 2025 is Donald Trump's plan for your future, and it couldn't be any brighter.
Project 2025 Bright Future Guarantee applies to white evangelical Christian men only. Other conditions may apply. Offer not valid in a functioning republic.
The circle of life eventually closes on all things. For Impetus Americanus, the time for prowling will soon be at an end. It was to be his final hunt. His prey, older, weaker, unable to fight back. The best kind, Or so he thought. But Impetus Americanus made a mistake. He is slow. He is lost. His imagined strengths are but weaknesses. And he's alone. His mate, his cubs, already eyeing new, greener lands. His pack is flimsy and overmatched. His lieutenants are weak and timid. The decades creak in his bones. The humiliations fester in every fold of soft, bloated skin. And as he rambles and wanders among the fields, no longer on the trail, he reeks of fear. He's afraid of the conflict, of what comes next. He starts to realize it is not his last hunt. Impetus Americanus is the hunted. He is the prey. The apex predator is approaching, preparing to devour him. It is Mother Nature's design that the circle of life eventually closes on all things. For Impetus Americanus, that circle is nearly complete.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Everybody. Okay, one of the things that Trump was saying in the debate last night was about inflation, and this report in August had come out that it says that inflation fell last month to 2.5%, the lowest since early 2021, with the Fed on the edge of declaring victory. Inflation continued its downward trajectory in August, according to data released Wednesday morning. Though the focus for the health of the U.S. economy has largely shifted from whether inflation will subside to what the cost of that shift is. Headline inflation was 2.5% last month, according to year-over-year changes in the Consumer Price Index reported by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, a touch below consensus economist estimates of 2.6%, according to FactSet. Down from July's 2.9 inflation, it's the lowest CPI reading since February of 2021, though inflation remains above the Federal Reserve's 2% long-term target. Core inflation, which excludes more price-sensitive food and energy sub-indexes, was 3.2% compared to the forecasts of 3.2% where it stood in July. Headline and core inflation climbed to 0.2% and 0.3% from July to August, respectively, compared to forecasts of 0.2% month-over-month increases where each metric stood from June to July. The slightly worse than expected uptick in core inflation sent stocks downward as it doused some investors' hope for very light inflation to bolster an aggressive monetary policy shift. Futures for the Dow Jones Industrial Average were down about 200 points, or 0.5% by 9 a.m. Quote, "This isn't the CPI report the market wanted to see," unquote, Sima Shah, strategist at Principal Asset Management, wrote in emailed comments. The most commonly cited measure of inflation, CPI, tracks price changes in predetermined weighted baskets of goods and services the typical American may purchase in a given period. Inflation ran amok beginning in 2021 as several factors came to a head, including the U.S. economy kicking back into gear as the COVID-19 pandemic eased, a surge in energy prices globally as the U.S. and its allies cut off Russian imports, and the lingering effects of pandemic stimulus checks. Headline CPI inflation peaked at a 41-year high, over 9% in mid-2022. Subsiding inflation came as the Federal Reserve hiked interest rates from their near zero level from March 2020 to March 2022 to the 5.25% to 5.5% range they've sat since last July. The Fed's rate hiking campaign bore the desired fruit of tamed inflation, but the potentially damaging second-order effects of such aggressive monetary policy has started to rear its head. As is historically the case, lower inflation has brought higher unemployment, with the jobless rate up almost a full percentage point from its 2023 low, escalating fears about the health of the U.S. labor market and the potential for a full-fledged recession. 21%, that's how much the consumer index rose from August 2020 to August 2024, equating to annualized inflation of 5.3%. Average hourly wages have climbed by 19% over the period, reflecting the discontent among many Americans as paychecks stretch thinner than they used to. The Fed's policy setting committee will meet next Tuesday and Wednesday to determine whether they will cut rates. Traders price in a full 100% chance the central bank will lower rates, but the question is how sharply they will act to stimulate the economy. The CME FedWatch tool indicated the market implied odds of a 0.25 percentage point cut was about 70% compared to roughly 30% for a more aggressive 0.5 percentage point cut before the CPI release. Bets subsided as the arguably more important core inflation reading came in slightly hotter than anticipated, with the odds of a 0.5 percentage point cut declining to about 20% after the release. So, in other words, the inflation has gone down lower than it was before, like at the start of the year, okay? But because of, prices being high, inflation and all that being where they are, it's still impacting people on the groceries and fuel areas of our lives where we're still paying a lot there, okay? And the last thing that these people want to see, I guess everybody wants to see, is more tariffs being placed on imports, okay? Because that cost falls on us. So however high things are now, they're going to be more expensive if Trump gets in there and enacts tariffs, all right? And that's going to, like these people here are worried about a recession. Well, if he does that, if he does what he says he's going to do if he becomes president by putting tariffs on everything or whatever the fuck he was saying, okay, then we probably will end up in a recession because they're worried about that now as things are now, and Trump's idea would be pushing us over the tipping point, basically, where they're trying to reel it back, in a different way here other than, putting tariffs on things, which, it didn't work the first time Trump did that, and we ended up in a trade war, if you recall, against China during that mess, and it made buying things. I mean, think about Walmart, for Christ's sake, and all these stores that get their stuff from China. They're going to have to mark up their goods that you buy at Walmart. And I remember when we had the trade war, there seemed to be like this period where Walmart didn't really have a whole lot of things in there that was, like they used to have. And let me just take the seasonal things, like Halloween and Christmas. They used to have, before the trade war started, with China, they used to have a lot of stuff on the shelves for people to buy in this, the seasonal times and stuff like that, the holidays. But when the trade war was at its peak there, thanks to Trump, I noticed the shelves at Walmart weren't really that decorated, you know what I'm saying, with things for people to buy. And so some things they weren't taking in, and the things that they did take in, the price went up. So there were people complaining about, oh, Walmart's really sticking it to us, and you know, they're not really the cheapest anymore. And then of course Dollar Tree went to $1.25 after they bought Family Dollar and this other Dollar General or something like that. I can't remember now how it went, but they merged with these other dollar outfits, and they raised their price to $1.25 instead. You know, again, that was the byproduct of that, you know. And so, you know, it disrupted, you know, consumers' ability to buy things. And now he's talking about bringing that back at a higher rate, a higher tariff rate. Well, hey, we saw what it did the last time. A higher tariff rate is gonna be that times whatever more he wants to do. So Walmart could suffer, and other stores that but you know, get their stuff from other countries could suffer too. And that gets passed on to us. So you're going to see more stores probably closing and unemployment going up as stores shut down and the people are laid off. You're going to see a lot of that. And I feel like, you know that would quickly undo a lot of things that Biden's been putting us on the track, you know, to recover from. Because even though we've been doing well, it's still very easy to tip us right back into what was going on when Trump was president, okay? It wouldn't take a whole lot. And so we really, you know, because like I said, Biden, you know, he only had 4 years. He needed a second term, okay? Well, we'll get a second term, but it will be through his vice president. And she intends to keep us on that same plan that Biden had put us on in the first place. So it needs to have, you know, another 4 years. Okay, we need to get another 4 years out of that to see where we end up in the end. I mean, so far it seems like we're doing good. We're doing way better than we did when Trump left the White House. Okay, this economy was tanking when he left. Inflation was up into the 9th percentile range or something like that. There was unemployment, you know, everywhere. It was terrible, okay? And we were still dealing with COVID-19 because he had done nothing about that. And we were still losing lives in this country after he left because he didn't prepare us. He didn't do what he needed to do to prepare this country for it. So we were stuck in this quagmire, and he thought he was going to win another term. I knew back then he wasn't going to win another term because the anger in this country against him at that time was you could cut it through a butter knife. I mean, it was just so thick. People just hated his fucking guts, you know, at the end of his term. Boy, how soon we forget. In just 3.5 years, how soon we forget, you know, how bad it was. Because we've had, you know, we've been seeing prosperity, things getting better in that 3.5 year period. So we've forgotten what it was like when he left. But I still remember how angry people were, you know. They would have voted for anybody other than Trump just to get him out of there, you know. And I'll tell you, the families of those people that died from COVID while Trump was out there calling it a hoax, they were the loudest voices. You know, they were doing all kinds of ads and everything to, you know, encourage people to vote for Biden, okay, to get rid of Trump. Because this country couldn't afford 4 more years with him. You know, it was a very dark time for this country. And when he lost, you know, of course, January 6th, and the rest is history. But the thing of it is that when he says, "Are we doing better than we were?" Yes, we are doing better than we were when he was president. And him trying to go on in these debates and say otherwise is just folly, okay? Because we know better. We know better. So, let's see here, what else? Okay, here's an item here that says how we've been true. It says household income rose last year for the first time since 2019. And that's from that's an article from the Washington Post. Yeah, Washington Post, yeah. And then mortgage rates have hit the lowest level since February of 2023. So, you know, things, you know, and people have been complaining they want to buy a home, okay, but the rates were high. Well, now they're starting to come down. I mean, you know, it takes time for policies to begin, you know, to show fruition. And so, yeah, I mean, there's improvements out there, and Kamala says she wants to encourage more construction of homes and you know, places for people to live, because we got a housing shortage in this country here, thanks to you know, things that happened where people lost their homes and these companies would go out and buy them and turn them into apartments. Okay, people just buying up these homes and taking the opportunity away from people who want to buy a house. Okay, and so it's ridiculous that goes on, but it does. I mean, you know, it's people that just, they want to turn a profit right off the bat. Okay, but it's made it very, very difficult for, you know, like first-time buyers to get a home, and it's been that way, you know, for too long, I think, and it really needs to change. I mean, we got to do something about that. Christ, today, you know, I remember when I was growing up, you know, back in the 80s and stuff, and people always, you know, their first home was the big goal. You know, when they graduated from high school and they go into college, they're hoping they can get a house and, you know, and have a car and all that stuff. And now, you know, people are lucky if they can get an apartment. They have to hold 2 jobs, just for one person to get that apartment. You gotta have 2 jobs, you know, and if they can get a car, you know, it's not going to be a very expensive, probably a used car or something, but that's, like, most of these people, that's the most they can hope for. And that shows you how things have declined, you know. And it's really sad because, you know, as much as you hear about, you know, people trying to improve the economy and stuff over these decades and stuff like that, you can't hide the fact that the population out there, their dreams are being high, you know, are getting higher and higher, too high to reach. You know what I'm saying? It's almost become unreachable now for a lot of people to have just the basic things that, you know, their parents and their grandparents enjoyed when they started off in life. It's not so easy now for the youth out here because, you know, people have abused our economic system in this country for far too long. And it started when they started giving tax breaks to the wealthy in this country. When they were being taxed at a 90% rate way back in the 50s and stuff, this country was a booming motherfucker, okay? A lot of the schools today that kids are going that go to, they were built during that booming era, which is why they look so old today. But they were built then because this country invested heavily in education, and they were building schools like there just was no tomorrow, you know. And so, you know, we were really building this country up, which is why we have all these big cities and stuff like that today. It was that industrial era of the mid-20th century that made this country what's so familiar about it today. All right, and like I said, we're not doing that anymore, okay, because the people at the top want all the wealth for themselves and they don't want to spread it around. Okay, they don't want to invest in anything except in their own goddamn stock. So they don't want to do anything but just live off the fucking money. That's it. They're not investors. They're not in people that have ideas to create jobs or businesses anymore. They don't want to do that. That's too much work for them. All right, so they just want to put their money in some kind of a fucking stock or whatever the hell and just let the money sit there and just accumulate. That's how they do it today. It's not about being an enterprising person to go out there and start something and make it and build it into an empire. No, they don't do that no more. And we need to encourage that. That's one of the things I think Biden was trying to suggest to Americans, you know, in a way was, you know, we lost that, you know, that way we climbed to the top. Okay, we don't want to make that climb anymore. We just want to be planted at the top automatically. But we lost the you know, the will to create empires in the United States. We just don't want to do it. And the proof is all around us. You go into all kinds of neighborhoods and they look run down, you know, and old and dilapidated, and there's poverty and there's homelessness. Okay, those are all signs of this country just giving up on itself. And he's trying to say, you know, you want to make this country great, okay, we need to go back to those times when we invested in our education and we encouraged people to create jobs and do all these things. Instead of taking all that incentive away that, you know, the Republicans have done, they've put roadblocks there. We've stopped that, and we made it impossible for people to start businesses, small businesses in this country, you know. And Kamala wants to change that, because how can you make a capitalist system thrive if there's only like 5 major companies in the whole damn system? You know, do you think that's a free and fair market? Of course it isn't. Free and fair market means options, means giving people alternatives instead of buying from the same idiots all the time who can dictate the price how high, however they want. Price gouging is, you know, you can't stop it. And how you defeat that is through competition. You have to create other markets out there. You have to make other businesses. Give people choices. That's the only way price gouging will stop. So that's you know what Biden and Kamala have been talking about. Okay, but we certainly don't want to go back to those days where, you know, people were just barred from ever achieving, you know, these middle class goals that they have. You know, they don't want to do that. They don't want to stop people, because the middle class is the backbone of the country. Without them, a lot of things wouldn't exist today that we have. You know, middle class is really what created a lot of industry in the United States, and that comes, you know, and of course the unions are a good part of that, of the middle class that existed then. So without any of that, you know, these big companies that we see in New York City and Chicago and LA, a lot of these companies would not be here today if it wasn't for the hard work from the middle class who helped to start these things, okay, and got it going. Which is why we need some factories, and we need to start making our own stuff again, because that gives good paying work to people. And before you know it, your middle class is getting stronger, and the buying power of Americans gets stronger. And then you start to notice the economy is getting good, and then the people at the top don't have to buy each other's stock all the time to make, you know, to artificially inflate the market. There'll be people that'll be buying stuff again, all right? And real value to the stocks will appear, that these people will be able to buy things that will have some real wealth to, instead of artificial wealth, which is what the rich have been doing all this time, which is why the Wall Street numbers really don't reflect the true strength of the economy right now, because what those numbers are showing is a lot of rich people just buying each other's shit, okay? And that, of course, registers in the Wall Street market. But when you start to see the other things starting to boom and go up in value, that's when you know that the United States is doing better. So, like I said, you know, Trump's ideas are ideas we've already tried. Okay, we've already done his ideas, and it didn't do very well. Why repeat that? You know, it cost this country a lot of money doing things his way when he was president. We can't afford that. We can't afford to do what he did and double down on it. We just can't. And I don't care if he thinks World War III is around the corner. That's not for him to decide, okay? You know, wars are always around every fucking corner. They happen overnight while we're sleeping, and we just don't know, okay? But none of these wars have to be World War III if we don't want it to be. And nobody wants it. but Trump seems to think that it's inevitable. Well, that's his opinion, okay? But that's not the way it has to be. All right, so he could say that all he wants to scare people to vote for him, but at the end of the day, he ain't no fucking Nostradamus. All right, so let's call this a day here, and please subscribe, comment, and share, and keep your ears open for any health matters, and treat each other nice out there. It goes around; everybody gets a share of good cheer out there, and I'll talk to you guys later. So take care, everybody.